Hi, welcome to the Small Shed. I'm Peter Lloyd. This week we're going to be looking at the main tower structure for the children's play area and hopefully putting up a quick test run to see if the whole system works, and that's coming up next. Now I'm just starting work on the tower, and as you can see there's a 90 by 90 piece of timber here which is 8 foot long, and it's reaching, as I said before, the limits of what I can do in the shed, because it doesn't leave me a great deal of room to do anything with it. Fortunately, having all the workbenches at the same or pretty much the same height helps, so that I can at least rest things on other ends, but it is pretty difficult to work with this sort of thing. I'm going to start off by just marking out the halfway point, which is where the first floor level will be. So we'll start on that first. So it's a 2.4 metre piece of timber, mark it at 1200. That's critical really, because it's where I need the floor level to be, because the slide comes in at 1.2 metres high, and that needs to be at the same level as the floor really. So I'm marking two sides at 1.2 metres. I will mark the top because I think it's actually fractionally shorter the other way. I think it's a smidge under 2.4. Yeah, 2.98 the other way. So not that it's going to matter for 2 mil on something like this, but it does keep it all consistent. So we mark that. Then 90 millimeters down is the floor construction. The actual deck of the floor and the CLS underneath it is 90 millimeters as well. So I'll mark that as well. So that will be where the panels start. The ground floor panels will come up to, if you like, and then the floor will be in part bolted through here, but in part resting on the panels as well to take the load down. Now the marking out from the top of the panels I did at 250 millimeters and 750 millimeters, which are where the fixing bolts are on, or the holes are on the panels. So this is where the threaded inserts will need to sit. That's at 750 and 250. So that again will mark on two adjacent sides. And then, having done that, I have got a jig that I was using on the bench a couple of weeks ago, which marks the centre of CLS, which is what I've used to mark the holes on the panels. So really now all I need to do is to mark that position, and then I can put a pilot hole in, and we can start and just put the threaded inserts in then on the two adjacent faces, and then at least I'll know whereabouts the panel should locate on the ground floor. The intention is to actually assemble one post, one panel, and then another panel at right angles to it, then another post, and so on round till I've got the whole of the 4 panels and 4 posts on the ground floor all erected together, and then I can drop the floor in above it, and then we can go on up with the next floor. So just wound the threaded insert in. So what should happen now is that if we get a bolt, you'll see that the panel will mount on and then the bolts will just go through and into there. That is the theory, at least anyway, and it worked well enough on the shed. This is very similar to what was happening on the shed at the corners, only I think I used a 70mm timber then. But that's just a matter of repeating that now on all of the posts. Done. It was time to try out and see whether or not all the theory was actually going to work in practice. So I took some of the panels and first of all attached one of the vertical posts, and hopefully the whole thing can be put up by one person, although I suspect I will have assistance anyway when it comes to putting it up. I'm just using a 6mm, or I think it's a 10mm socket for a 6mm stud on the driver, and it seemed to go together reasonably easily, that you could just bolt, and this is where the jig drilling comes into its own, because you're not reliant upon panel A fitting to post A and that sort of thing. It soon went together. I think I had trouble with one hole that didn't quite line through exactly right, and just had to slacken one off and have another go and get it right second time. But it's relatively quick and easy. I think the whole thing took about 20 minutes to get as much as I was going to get up. I wasn't going to erect the whole thing, but it was more a case of just proving that all the pieces fitted together and there weren't any stupid things I'd missed that meant you'd have to get a saw out to make something work. We'll need to get some means of stabilising the bottom of the legs. I'm not sure what we'll do, whether we'll put a slab or some sort of foundation underneath each corner. It will probably stand alright on the ground because it felt fairly stable, but over time I think it'll just work its way into the ground otherwise. The first floor fitted on nicely, it just slipped straight in. Not fully finished at that point because I hadn't got the end parts cut, so that wall panel had to be slightly higher than it will, well, it's where it will sit in when it's finally assembled, but there is a gap there at the moment because there's one piece of boarding that wasn't fitted at that point. But the whole tower felt solid and stable, so I was quite happy that this is going to be safe for children to use. I started to fit the supplementary panels. I think it was at that point I suddenly realised that I hadn't fitted it together the way I wanted to. I wanted to have the upstairs opposite handed, so I had to quickly just put that right. But on the whole, everything went well, and that's the sort of finished idea. Well, that seemed to have gone quite well. Quite pleased with that. The structure was stable even without being fully bolted up, and I was climbing around on the top to fix the top panels without any great problems. So I think the actual design concept seems to be working okay. That means that next week I can get on with the roof for it. Now I've got some ideas on how I'm going to do that. That's the video for this week. Look forward to seeing you next week. If you like the video, please press like and subscribe, and thanks to all the subscribers who've just come on board recently. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.